I'm on, but oh, there's 96 people on. Are they on now? They should be on.
I'm telling
Oh,
you.
there's Travis.
Okay.
Travis, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
Yeah. Is it good? Do you have Dr. Paul?
I don't see Dr. Paul here.
So Travis. You're set up as a panelist, so you guys should be all good to go. I just logged in from my personal computer at home here, so I'm gonna mute out and not show my screen because there are kids running around here. Okay, you guys are good. So you have your presentation. You're good to go.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You got 500. You got 500 people on with you, so you're good.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, listen, I want to thank everybody for joining the conference call and Zoom call tonight. We're going to, Dr. Paul Laciero, thank you for joining on, and we appreciate it very much. We also want special thanks to Jillian Barkum, who is joining us here tonight. All right, so Dr.
Great to be
Paul,
here.
thank you. All right, so let me do just a formal introduction on why we're having this conference call. It sounds like we have the lines just absolutely loaded. We have now over 600 people who are joining on the Zoom call today. So the purpose of this Zoom call is to cover three things. Again, my name is Travis Garza, Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at Isagenix International, and I'm going to read through these just to make sure that we're on the same page, because we have many guests who are on the line. We have people who are joining in as customer associates, leaders. But we want to talk a little bit about some of the studies that have been done at Isagenix and what helps validate these products. We want to talk and answer questions, common questions that have been asked about the research studies that Isagenix has been involved with, and to help better understand the results and how to share them with your organization, or if you're a new guest, to learn a little bit more about what Isagenix is doing. In addition to that, we also want to talk about really, what Isagenix is doing to really dedicate themselves to providing the right products, the best nutritional products on the planet, and how we're investing in research to help validate and to really differentiate Isagenix products among the competitors out there today. So with that, I want to take some time to introduce a couple of people to this Zoom call. Very, very important people here. And if you give me a moment, I think this is really important as we're hearing from a lot of people who are chatting on the Zoom call. Thank you so much for joining. Our first speaker today really is someone who many of you who, if you've been with Isagenix, you know him as a world leader in what he does. That is Dr. Paul Laciero. He's a fellow of the American College of Sports Medicine and the Obesity Society, and is a member of the advisory board for the American Heart Association. He's a leading expert in nutrition and fitness lifestyle interventions to optimize health and physical performance. He's also published more than 55 peer-reviewed research studies on performance, nutrition, and exercise training in the world's most respected science journals, including Obesity Journal, Frontiers in Physiology, American Journal of Preventative Medicine, American Journal of Physiology, Metabolism, Clinical and Experimental Nutrients, Journal of Applied Physiology, Journal of Nutrition, and so much more. Dr. Paul's work is extensively cited in medical publications such as the American Heart Association and with Duke Medicine Health News, Science Daily, and Villanova COPE, as well as mainstream popular media, including the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, Prevention, Good Housekeeping, WebMD, O Magazine, Time, Huffington Post, Daily Mail, Self, Glamour, Shape, and many, many, many more magazines around the world. So I just want to welcome Dr. Paul Laciero to the call, the Zoom call. Dr. Paul, thank you for being here.
Travis, my pleasure. This is an honor. Thank you for inviting me. Excited to share this with everyone.
All right, and then secondarily, we have someone who's been with Isagenix for some time now. We're excited to have her. She's been very, very diligent in what we've been doing on nutrition. She's also been she's traveled around all of North America helping us share about Isagenix products. She's also been talking with leaders about how we can improve the nutrition side of our products. She's been on TV. She's been on radio. She's also developed some key systems for Isagenix and how we work here at Isogenics. She also was very instrumental in our corporate office in developing our cafeteria food plan, and which was really, really something. Jillian Barkune, welcome to the call.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
All right. Well, Jillian is a registered dietitian, and she received her master's degree in nutrition. She started her career at Isogenics in the research and development department, focusing on science communications. Jillian has written many articles on our science blog, and many of you, if you haven't been to isogenicshealth.net, if you're an Isogenics associate or you're new to Isogenics, isogenicshealth.net has a lot of information around our products on the scientific side, maybe a little bit more in-depth discussion on our products. She also enjoys educating the field on the science behind our products. In 2015, Jillian joined the Isogenics sales team as a sales programs manager. Her team currently oversees IsoBody, the 100-Pound Club, Team Isogenics, and partners with our Make-A-Wish. So she's extremely busy, but she also enjoys being in front of the camera. She's been on many of our talk shows, many of our videos, and she's trained on stage at some of our biggest events around the world. You'll see Jillian on our Facebook Live recordings as well as our live stream productions at all of our Isogenics events. While she's worked for Isogenics for 5 years, she has used Isogenics products for over 10 years. So she certainly knows about using the Isogenics products and why they work so well. So again, Jillian, thank you and Paul for being on the Zoom call tonight.
Of course.
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to take some time here to address some key questions. Now, again, we have a lot of Isogenics associates and we have a lot of new people that are joining here. And we're going to go through a series of questions that we've been receiving in the field and really from the science community as far as what these research studies have been involved with. So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Paul. We may have some new people who are joining on this call that they're not familiar with the research that you have done for Isogenics. So can you just briefly go over some of the studies that you've been involved with Isogenics?
Absolutely. So my involvement has been first and foremost as a third-party independent researcher. So I just want to put that out there right from the start that I'm not an employee of Isogenics. My relationship started as a third-party independent researcher. I was honored to be asked and invited to test the two main solutions. One was the weight loss solution, and we actually conducted that study first as a short-term weight loss. So what we did was we recruited 40 men and women, and we had them follow the Isogenics weight loss solution for 12 weeks. And because of the incredible success of that, we ended up extending it for another 52 weeks. So the entire length was a 64-week weight loss study, and we actually compared it to a heart-healthy diet during the last year of that study. So really excited results from that. And again, Isogenics HealthNet, you can find all of those published studies. There was 3 of them. And then the second group of studies was with a performance system, and we looked at it independently in both men and women who were very, very active. So on average, they exercised 5 days a week. And so that was the study population in that study. The weight loss was individuals that needed to lose weight, and the performance study was taking a group of highly fit, trained men and women.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Dr. Paul. And, I want to get into some of the actual study details themselves. And so one of the common questions that I've been receiving is some have asked if the study really has the credentials and was it funded by Isogenics? Can you share a little bit about this?
Yeah. To me, those are really valid and fair questions, and I applaud everyone to start with that critical assessment of research, because if you don't, then you can be misled. And so I think the good news is that these studies were independently conducted by me. And again, let me also start by saying that private funding and industry-funded research occurs all the time. So whether it was funded by Isogenics or another sport nutrition or nutrition company or organization, this type of thing happens all the time, and it produces, in all fairness, some of the most valid, incredible, and even groundbreaking research that we have available. And here's why. Isogenics, for those of you that follow research, had zero first right of refusal. And that's a major point to consider, regardless of you're looking at research that's been done by Isogenics or any other organization that has received funding. You never want the grant agency to have a refusal to publish the data. That's a conflict of interest. And so, again, really importantly, when you are reading scientific research that's been peer-reviewed, making sure that the grant funding agency has no authority or right to refuse what you publish is the starting point. And in this case, Isogenics had no first right of refusal. The other thing was that Isogenics didn't conduct the research, nor did they have control over the data at any time point. So as an independent third-party scientist, I had control over how the study was conducted. I was analyzing the data. I had access to the data, so that's also extremely important. They had no authority over the data and how it was handled, how the study was written for publication, and that's really important. And then finally, the review process. So when you when you conduct the study, you collect all the data, you analyze it, and then you send it out for peer-reviewed publication, which is having other experts in the field critically analyze and assess your research. They weren't involved in any of the manuscript writing at that point. So again, I just want to stress that that's a really important differentiation.
Well, very good. You know, it's interesting as many people are listening to this Zoom call. You know, we one of the things that we wanted to dedicate at Isogenics as a chief sales and marketing officer, and as an executive team at Isogenics, we felt it was crucial that we not only talk about how the efficacy of the products, and they taste great. In fact, we received a question from somebody: does it taste better than these other competitors? And the taste was, it is excellent. And we have different flavors that people can mix with these shakes, and the protein and the system. It's all a system. So we appreciate that question. But Jillian, I'm going to come back. I'm going to go to you on this next question. I know that you've conducted your own research, and you hear about Dr. Paul and 55 peer-reviewed research papers that have that you sit there and you say, okay, how critical are those? You've done some own peer review yourself, but why is this such a big deal?
Yeah, so this is huge, and I have one published study, so Dr. Paul, I'm far away from all the experience you have, but I just wanted to take the chance to just share in my own experience and share with people that, like you said, that peer-reviewed process, it is so key to making sure that our studies and the science that we produce is really credible. I can share with my experience when I did studies on vitamin C and treating the common cold for my thesis research back in grad school. And you write up this paper, you spend a lot of time on the study, you send it in, and it's not like you just send it in and that's it. There's a lot of back and forth. They're very critical, like you said, Dr. Paul. They're making sure that your study design and your results are legitimate. And even at one point, they literally look at everything. They looked at my last name, and I had gotten married, so they were wondering why I had two different last names. So they really, really get down to the nitty-gritty of every single thing that you submit. And peer review, you're having the experts in the field really say, hey, your study was very well designed, and the results are credible information that we want to send out there for people to reference. So having that credibility to our studies is huge, and knowing that we really had studies that were designed well and produced results that, again, like Dr. Paul said, were independent of Isogenics. We weren't in there meddling with things. He really ran the research, and if the results were bad, we had no control over not sharing that information. Of course, we were very confident that the results were going to be very positive in showing that our system is very effective in helping people reach those weight loss goals. So it's great to have that credibility behind our products.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Hey, Travis, can I just add one more thing on that?
Sure.
One of the things that you have to pay attention to, as Jillian pointed out, is the ethical code of science and the code of standards and ethics related to scientific research that is funded by any organization. First and foremost, scientists need to, by the code of ethics, fully disclose where funding has come from. And that right there is essential, and that establishes the credibility and the autonomy of the researcher, the scientist, from the funding agency. And so, I hope that when you hear all of this, all people that might have some questions, and it's, again, I fully agree, and that should be the thought process and how you go about learning about this, making sure that all of those safeguards are in place, that there was no first right of refusal, there was full disclosure of where the funding came from, it was peer reviewed. You have those three things, it's not very debatable whether the research, as Jillian and I have pointed out, was of the highest quality and standard. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. You know, and I think more and more people are saying, okay, so now we're really getting into, you know, why the products are now showing, you know, that the efficacy of the products, and not only the efficacy of the products, but the research that was done to say, hey, we're going to have validation behind the products. But I have to ask you, Dr. Paul, in the health and wellness community, has it gained traction? Have we seen some traction now with these studies, with the Isagenix products, and what you've done here?
Had I known it was going to receive this much attention, I would have maybe not done such a good job conducting these studies. No, in all seriousness, it's skyrocketed, to be perfectly honest with you, in terms of the interest. And here's why. This is pertinent to everybody. Everybody, you know, at some level has an interest in either their own personal health or their loved ones, people that they care for. So when we talk about health and wellness and performance, you know, stress that we encounter in our life, this affects everybody. And so has it gained traction? Absolutely, because it touches everyone's life at some level. And so, to be perfectly honest, I've had a journalist at least weekly, and I say that without hesitation or exaggeration, that has reached out to me to write a follow-up story. In fact, I have, this week alone, I've had two journalists contact me who have written stories, and one of those is due tomorrow. So after this call, I'll be staying up and responding to the questions that the one journalist has sent me. So, you know, not only is it among popular media, but I've had interviews with the scientific community, the medical community. I've been asked to present at international conferences. In fact, I'm leaving for one of all places in Phoenix next week, so I'll be down there at an international sport nutrition conference presenting this research. So it's caught on, and rightly so. You know, I again, for those of you that have heard me speak, you know that I'm not a scientist who lives in an ivory tower or in my laboratory. I believe so strongly in being able to share the value of the findings of the research that I've done and others have done so that people can benefit from it. That is the bottom line, and that's the goal.
You know, I'm gonna detour a little bit here, Jillian. You've been around Isagenix. You've seen the studies that Dr. Paul has been involved with. In your experience, as you start to see people, as Dr. Paul said, and I think this is really key, people who are looking, they need it, the world needs it. What, in your opinion, as a nutritionist, a dietitian, give us your opinion on some of the things that he shared as far as the world needing this and what you've seen with Isagenix.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that we have an issue with obesity and people not having the proper diets and following the proper lifestyle habits in order to live healthy lives. And I think with Isagenix, what we provide is a solution. You know, it's something that complements what other aspects of healthy living, and it makes it easy for people to achieve their health goals because as a dietitian, I can say, you know, people can have the best intentions of eating healthy and staying on track, but it's just not that easy. There's so many factors that come into play. And so with Isagenix, we try to make it really simple. And by having these science-backed products, it gives people, you know, something that is effective and actually works. So I think, you know, people need it out there. Just like you said, all of us know someone that is struggling with a health condition that can be better improved by a fantastic foundation of nutrition that really is just a staple for so many aspects of health, and we're finding out more and more how key it is. So I agree 100% with Dr. Paul that it's all about sharing it with people that really need it.
Well, let me just ask this, Dr. Paul, because one of the questions that came about with the studies had to deal with protein and the amount of protein that you were giving the patients and then the control group and how that all went out. So my question specifically is regarding the amount of protein that was used in the study and the control group. Some have asked why, and I have it written here, some have asked why the participants who were using the Isagenix system were given more protein than the control group. Wouldn't this be an unfair advantage? As we learn on this, we're saying, okay, how do we compare apples to apples? Are we comparing the same thing if Isagenix was given more protein than the control group?
Okay, these are great questions. Listen, we have a bright audience, and we have people that are, on top of it. And so I love this. This is, the sweet spot for me as a scientist to be able to engage in this level of discourse. So let me start off by saying this. In the weight loss study, there was no difference in the protein intake. I'll say that again. There was no difference. The protein intake was similar. So it's not really an issue. One of them did not have a more favorable advantage because of the protein intake. The reality is that the two groups were equally receiving that. It was most likely, the reason why we had such vast differences in the end of the weight loss study between the isogenic system and the heart healthy group was likely due to the protein pacing and the high quality nourishment that they were receiving through the Isagenix products. So, I will say that first and foremost, again, as an independent scientist who receives funding from other agencies, organizations all around the world, this was one of the studies, and the data was what the data was, and it was due to most likely the protein pacing. So that timed, evenly spaced intake of protein throughout the day, and then most importantly, the quality of that nourishment that they were receiving through the Isagenix products. So that was what we found with the weight loss study, and that was really important because I think people had that question, and I just wanted to make sure that that was clearly stated, that there was no difference between the protein intake. So then it comes down to the performance study. And so people have a question, well, wasn't there an unfair advantage when you conducted the performance study because one group was receiving more? I'll say this, as a scientist, it doesn't make a lot of logical sense to compare groups of the same level of intake regarding a certain nutrient. And here's why. You have no scientific evidence to suggest that that certain level that you chose arbitrarily or you chose to start the study and compare them to is better than what is currently recommended. So I just want to make that very, very clear. The performance study was designed in a very logical, rational, scientifically backed design in that we were testing the Isagenix performance system that included a slightly higher protein intake, approximately 2 grams, versus the currently recommended amount of protein. That is the starting point. So for all of you that know science, you would understand. Those of you that are less familiar, it's also important for you to pay attention to that it doesn't make sense to compare a study or two groups to the same level without first scientifically testing whether your suggested level of intake is better than what is currently recommended. So that's first and foremost, and again, I really appreciate that level of discourse and questioning of the study. So that's why we did that. Second, I have to say, there is a little bit of a scientific disagreement in providing people a higher protein intake. In fact, there have been some really credible scientists from other institutions that have shown that even slightly above the recommended dietary allowance of protein is not very favorable for people. So, I don't want people to just assume, oh, you gave a higher protein, of course they're going to have more healthy benefit from that. Well, that's not necessarily true. Not all the studies show that. And so I think we were very prudent. I think we were very deliberate in how we designed the study to first test this Isagenix level of protein versus what is currently recommended, and not go so high that we would predispose them to maybe some possible health consequence. So that's why we did what we did. The fact that we had such favorable and beneficial outcomes from the Isagenix level of the protein using the protein pacing model is really notable. And that's the takeaway that people should feel really good about, that, hey, you can take this level of protein that is found within the Isagenix products using the protein pacing model, and man, you can have a phenomenal response in terms of your physical performance. That is what you want to take away.
Well, I appreciate the explanation, and I know for many who are listening, we're getting just a ton of comments here about, really jumping into the science and how do we share this. And I think, I just can't emphasize enough that not only do we have the science behind this, but we have great tasting products. People that not only, if you're listening to this and you're watching this Zoom call for the first time, it's one thing to have the science and having the validation behind this, but it's having products that really taste good that people can try and be on for a long term. There's not just this is a lifestyle. This is what we call the ISA life, and so many thousands and thousands and thousands of people have used these products to really capture results. But how do you share this? And Jillian, I'm going to come back to you on this. There's a lot of this research study, and if I'm just listening to the first time, how can I take these research studies to the field? What's the best way? What's a simple way that I can share this with other people?
Yeah, and I know, maybe the people on this call, we're all science nerds and we love to talk about this stuff, but we know there's people out there that they don't want to get into the nitty-gritty stuff. They just want the high-level information, and sometimes too much information can be a turnoff for them. So my biggest thing is to figure out, I think there's 3 levels of sharing this information. So depending on someone's experience with isogenics and their knowledge and even just their interest, there's 3 different levels. So the first level I would say is our fast facts sheet, which is on isogenicshealth.net. I just printed this off today to kind of re-familiarize myself with it. And it's a 1-page sheet. It's not even on the back. And it has really brief descriptions of all of the studies. And if you yourself want to feel like you can speak intelligently about the studies, but don't, maybe you don't have a background in science, I would just really familiarize yourself with these key bullet points. They're very simple. There's not a lot of jargon in there. And so this is the first step for sharing the products and for educating yourself on the studies and the results. The second step, if someone is, they really want more information, this one sheet is just not cutting it, they have more questions, then you would want to share our summary of results. And again, all of this is on isogenicshealth.net. On the right-hand sidebar, there's actually you can click a link to go to our clinical study. So click on that. All of this is there. The summary of the results is going to be an article that our research team wrote. It's a little more in layman's terms, but does go more into the specifics of the study as far as the timeline and what the diet protocols were. So that's the second step if someone has questions. And then the third step, if you have someone that has a medical background, if you're speaking to a doctor or someone that really wants the full science, then you want to give them the PDFs of our studies. Again, those are on isogenicshealth.net, and those are going to go the abstracts, the study design, the results. It's going to explain all of that information. So again, 3 steps. You do the fast facts first. If they want more, you go to the summary of results. And then third is going to be the PDFs of the actual studies. You can send those journal articles as well. So those are kind of the different ways I would share the products. But I think the biggest point I want to get across is you don't have to be the scientist. You don't have to know all the facts. And a lot of times I think some of us feel like we have to be able to share all of it. And then if we're speaking to someone that is very knowledgeable in that area, we kind of come off as looking silly. So don't feel like you have to do all that. Use the tools, and make sure that you are sharing that credible information by using the tools that we already have created.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And again, the Isogenics team here, if you're listening for the first time and you're watching, it is very, very important for us to have the information, but we also spell it down. In fact, I've been watching the chat, Dr. Paul and Jillian, and we have doctors who are listening to this, medical doctors who are listening to this. We have people who are just learning about isogenics for the first time. So it just helps us validate really, not only do we have the science and the research, but we have different ways that we can train them on moving forward. So Paul, I'm going to come back to you on this question. Let's go into the actual isogenics products, specifically around the IsaLean Whey. So this is now we're talking about the Isogenics IsaLean Whey shake protein. As a researcher, why is it so important to have the right proteins? Because they can buy a lot of proteins at GNC, they can buy a lot of proteins elsewhere, but why is it so important to have the right proteins to help maximize weight loss or gain lean muscle mass?
Yeah, that's again, should be everyone's top consideration when they go into a healthy eating plan. Protein should be the primary vital nutrient. That's where the name protein is derived from. It's a vital nutrient. So the right protein really, when it comes down to it, is whey. Whey contains a complete protein. It's got all the essential amino acids. The other thing that whey protein is that I've shown in my research, as well as other researchers who study protein intake and whey protein specifically is that it really accomplishes its effectiveness in 3 ways. One, whey protein, because of its combination of amino acids, is the most powerful in turning on protein synthesis. And that's a fancy name for helping our muscles build new protein. And that's what we need. Our vital organs, our skeletal muscle mass, we need that protein for our bodies to thrive. So that's number one. Number two, protein, specifically whey protein, is the most thermogenic. And again, that's a fancy word for metabolism. So whey protein helps activate our metabolism the best and keeps it revving. So it helps us, burn the calories that we need to. Third is protein, specifically whey protein, provides our body with the greatest level of satiation, meaning that we feel the fullest when we eat whey protein. So that's the benefit of having whey protein as your primary source of protein. It's got all of those essential amino acids and complete protein to turn on all of those things that I just talked about. Some of the other things that it's been helpful with that I think goes less recognized is that whey protein is also associated with a reduction in blood pressure. So for people that have issues with blood pressure, again, the healthy combination of those amino acids and the components within it help us control our blood pressure a little bit more. There's some evidence that it also can be helpful with inflammation. So lots of great things. Why this is so pertinent to isogenics is because isogenics, first of all, uses the undernatured whey. There's absolutely no compromise in all of their products. So again, as an independent researcher, this is what I pay attention to when I enter into a partnership with my research that I'm looking to conduct. I want to make sure that the company holds the highest standard to their quality, to their production, and the fact that it is a whey protein that is the most healthy and most beneficial for all of those things that I just described: protein synthesis, metabolism, and then satiation. And the good news is that when you take the Isogenics whey protein products, the Isoline, the Isoline Pro, the IsoPro, and put those into a protein pacing strategy, the results speak for themselves in the 5 published papers. So
very
there you have it.
good. Very good. And then one thing I want to make sure that as a corporate representative, and we start to think about all these things as a researcher, you hear Dr. Paul, you're just blown away by really what these products can do. And one thing that we always want to be careful of is we never cure, treat, or diagnose any type of disease, but we know that we address a lot of the things that happen with obesity and people who are struggling with their weight. And if we can attack obesity, then there's a lot of benefits that come from that. So, Jillian, I want to ask you a question. From your perspective as a dietitian, how do Isogenics products, this protein, help people lose weight compared to what other products are out there that are on the market, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think I actually wrote down a couple of things because there were so many things I wanted to talk about. But I think, when we look at the market and what other meal replacement shakes are out there, Isogenics stands out in a few ways. One of them is that we provide the right kind of protein in the right amount at the right time. And that is basically a definition of protein pacing. So we're doing, we're getting the right amount of protein. We're having it at intervals throughout the day, and we're getting the right kind. That whey protein is a complete protein that helps build muscle mass and all those amazing benefits that Dr. Paul shared as well. So I think that's a big thing. It's that protein pacing component where we're providing the right kind, right amount at the right time. Number 2, what makes our shakes different than what's on the market is that it's a complete meal replacement. And I think that word complete is really key, because you can find other shakes out there and maybe it's half the calories, only 2 grams of fat and 1 gram of sugar. And when you look at the label, someone might say, well, this one's lower calories and I should be having this shake. But the thing is, when I look at it nutritionally, it's just not providing that balance of nutrition that we need of protein, carbs, and fats every day. It's not the right amounts. And I think the biggest thing is most times people are just hungry afterwards. And so you're tempted to just eat other foods and you fall off the wagon a lot faster. So with our shakes being complete and having all of those macronutrients in there in the right amounts, it's going to keep you full and satisfied and provide your body with the nutrition that it really needs. The third thing is that it is convenient. I know there's some shakes out there that, that you have to, there's different processes of creating them, or you have to add stuff to it because it's just a base. It's so easy. Just add ice and water, blend it up, put it in a shaker cup. The convenience is so key that I mentioned earlier for people to stick with a healthy diet plan. And then the fourth thing is combining our shake days with our cleanse days. I think that's really key to maintenance. So a lot of diets out there can help you lose weight, but it's going to be tough to maintain it. So with isogenics, again, it all goes back to being that lifestyle. Having our complete meal replacement shakes and pairing those shake days with cleanse days is going to help you lose the weight, but also maintain those results like we saw in Dr. Paul's studies.
I love this, and again, as a corporate representative, I get the pleasure of seeing so many people who have used these systems and have really changed their life. And to hear Dr. Paul and Jillian share this, and Dr. Paul with so many research studies that he's done, and to have the success that you have had, and see what the results were, it's just astonishing to me. But one thing I want to ask Dr. Paul, because there is this comparison, and we have to address it. It has to deal with whey protein versus soy protein. And, there's people are constantly asking, what's the difference, and should I even care about the protein sources, whey versus soy? Can you address that?
Absolutely, yeah, and it's a question that should be asked because they impact our health so much. And again, if you're following the protein pacing that we've been talking about, you want to make sure that those choices of those protein sources are going to nourish you. They're going to do the things that we've already talked about: the protein synthesis, the healthy lean muscle mass, the metabolism, and then the satiation. So regarding whey and soy, they're very similar in the following way. They're both what we call fast-acting proteins, meaning when we eat soy and we eat whey, they are metabolized fairly rapidly, and then the amino acids are pushed out into our muscles and into our liver. And so we call those fast-acting, as opposed to a slow-acting protein such as casein, which is also found in dairy. So the question becomes, all right, well, if whey and soy are both fast-acting, both must be good for you. One is plant-based, one is animal-based. The reality of it is, from a scientific perspective, even though whey and soy are both fast-acting proteins, one is animal, one is plant, whey protein is superior in terms of activating protein synthesis, in terms of revving up our metabolism, in terms of providing a greater level of satiation. So, if you really wanted to get the most benefit from a fast-acting protein to really benefit you in all of those ways that we described, whey would be superior. Now, there's one other caveat here, and that is soy, although it's plant-based, it undergoes so much refining in our current food supply that it actually has some potential less beneficial effects. One would be the heightened level of phytoestrogens. These are plant-based forms of the hormone estrogen that remains still to this day very controversial, particularly when we're consuming very refined sources of soy. So I would just caution people that certain raw forms and natural states of soy are okay, I think, in moderation. But when you start consuming in the levels that a lot of people do when they're eating soy-based powders, protein powders, then you have a little bit more of a risk related to it. The other one is it's, again, not as potent in its effects compared to whey. So here's what I would recommend. If someone is interested, and I live this way, I'm sure many of you who are listening to this call want to start to go with some plant-based options. You're actually better off in terms of plant-based protein going with a pea protein or a brown rice protein. And fortunately, that's what you find in the Isagenix Isoline Shake dairy-free version. So there you have it. There's the consideration to look at when you look at whey versus soy, but a better option for plant-based would be going with the pea protein and the brown rice that's found in the dairy-free version of Isagenix.
Well, Dr. Paul, thank you so much for that explanation and really, how we can look at soy versus whey. And And I appreciate your opinion on this, and we value your opinion on this as a researcher and a scientist. But you mentioned something about, and we're starting to receive questions about dairy-free options. And Jillian, as a dietitian, Dr. Paul talks about rice protein, brown rice protein, pea protein, and dairy-free options. Tell us a little bit about why those are best when we look at our dairy-free options at Isagenix.
Yes, I've been dying to answer this because I see everyone posting comments and asking about dairy-free because, you know, for so long, Isagenix, we talked whey protein on and on about how great it is, and it is. It really does top the charts when it looks at weight management and getting that muscle growth, especially as we age. So their whey protein is great, but we know a lot of people have issues with lactose intolerance or GI distress from dairy, or you know, they want to follow more of a plant-based lifestyle because they believe in helping the environment, and that's really important for them. So we're definitely seeing a lot of people that have this new plant-based lifestyle. And so when Isagenix came out with our dairy-free shakes, we wanted them to be the best shakes out there. And I can tell you, I was, you know, in the research team at the time, and we were testing all of these dairy-free shakes. And Travis, I'm sure you had a few of them too, and they were awful. Oh my gosh, they were just gritty. And again, a lot of you listening, you might have tried them as well. They were chalky, they did not taste good, and when you look at the nutrition, it really just did not provide what we wanted. We wanted something that was going to really be the top of the line for the dairy-free shakes. So when we formulated them, we actually, which I thought was novel, we combined two types of protein. So by having the brown rice protein and the pea protein, we get a really awesome amino acid profile. So if you take a protein and you look at it through a microscope, if you really break it down, what protein is, which Dr. Paul's been saying this whole time, is amino acids. So those are the building blocks of protein. And some sources of protein don't have all the building blocks you really need. It only has parts of them. And by having these two types of plant-based proteins, they complement each other so that we do get an amazing amino acid profile. So if you had just one, if you had just the pea protein or just the brown rice, it wouldn't be as great as combining the two, because again, you're going to get that great amino acid profile. So with our shakes, you're going to get the two types of the protein in there. It's going to complement your dairy-free lifestyle, and it's going to be just, you know, for all the people that don't have dairy, it's okay. We still have an awesome option for you that's going to help you get the results based on our philosophies and the science that we know.
Well, thank you, Jillian. Breaking it down, sometimes, and I'm not the science person, so I'm learning as well as everyone else on this Zoom call, and learning about, you know, not only the protein pacing that Dr. Paul really is really the pioneer in what we talk about pacing this out, and then we learn about, you know, the differences between whey and soy, and we talk about the dairy-free options that are available at Isagenix. And you can, if you're listening, you're hearing this for the first time, whether you're in the medical field or you're just learning about Isagenix for the first time, you can see why we take this so serious and why so many people have had such success with Isagenix. Now, the shake is one component to the system. It's one component to the Isagenix product system. And Dr. Paul, I want to ask you your questions around this, because you did some testing, but why is the shake such a major part to the system? Because this is a system. It's not, when you think about Isagenix and people talk about lifestyle, the shake is powerful, but what makes the entire Isagenix system such a powerful force in the health and wellness space?
Well, I feel very fortunate being able to comment on this, Travis, in the following way. You know, one of the things that we did with this study intentionally, by design, was to not separate out each of these products individually to test their efficacy and how well they work. Just for that reason alone, we wanted to make sure that this was part of a lifestyle. And that's where the benefit comes, because the word I like to use is the synergy that you build and you benefit from when all of these things are integrated inside your body, acting together. That is the special sauce, as they say. And so when you think about the shakes, the Isoline shakes, the Isoline Pro, you know, when those things are combined with the complete essentials, which, you know, boy, I mean, talk about a pioneer in product formulation. John Anderson was a genius in putting together what he did with those complete essentials. And so, you know, when you synergistically combine the Isoline shakes with the protein pacing, the Cleanse for Life the Ionic Supreme. I mean, all of those together acting creates just this magnificent, outcome. And again, I want to go back to where we started because this is my comfort spot. This is kind of my sweet spot. I'm able to speak from a scientific standpoint that when these things are working together synergistically, complementary with each other, that's when, these fantastic changes have occurred, and we have it documented through science. And I think, to me at least, the adaptogens that are available in these products, the antioxidants. I mean, I could go on describing each one of these individual components, but I think, again, I'll go back, when these things are all together, that's when you really get the greatest benefit. So that's a lifestyle, if you ask me. It's not a compartmentalized living experience. It's all integrated. I mean, and that's how we are as humans, right? We're fully integrated in so many different ways: spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, physically. And so why would we expect foods and nutrients to work in isolation? They have to be all brought together. So that's my way of viewing it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And Jillian, I wanted to ask you a question, with regards to the question I just asked Dr. Paul, with the entire isogenic system. And, people ask, what makes a system so great? It's a system. And I know that people have asked, are the shakes gluten-free? How can we know that this system is really working? Can you address some of the things that, the question?
Yeah, there are, and I'm watching the chat too. There's so many great questions, so I know we can't tackle them all, but I'll definitely say go to isogenicshealth.net because we have tons. If you even type in a search, a lot of the answers are there. You can also find me on Facebook and shoot me a message. I'm happy to answer some of these because I know there's a lot coming through. But yeah, so our products are all gluten-free minus the slim cakes, which we are working on. So our goal is to have a gluten-free completely line. So just know that you don't have to worry about that when it comes to our products. And I think, just to answer your question about why isogenics is so great, I'm going to be piggybacking on Dr. Paul, just that it really is a system. But if I had to break it down even further than that, I would say why isogenics works for weight loss and weight management. It would be the unique combination of our cleanse days and shake days. A lot of times you see different components of diets that have parts of that, but they don't have it all. And I really think with our shake days, where you're getting optimal nutrition, taking advantage of the benefits of protein pacing and getting the right amount of protein at the right times, you're going to be building muscle mass, getting that great nourishment. And then on the cleanse days, we're really triggering our body to focus on targeting fat loss, focusing it on detoxification. And so when you have the combination of those two, it's going to result in sustained weight loss and health over time. I know someone also asked, hey, my goal isn't weight loss, so what would I be doing? My goal isn't weight loss either. I've been using isogenics for over 10 years, and I've never had a goal of weight loss. And I still know that I use the shakes for that great nourishment. I use the cleanse days maybe less than someone that is focusing on weight loss, but I at least cleanse because I know the benefits for my health. So that's one of the best things about isogenics is it's customizable. You can make it fit your needs. And again, on isogenicshealth.net, we have a lot of different scenarios showcasing how you can use the products to reach your goals. So I can't say it enough more, but go to that website. There's so much great information on there for you.
All right. Well, Dr. Paul, were you going to comment?
You know what I was going to say, because these thoughts kind of jump into my head and I can't contain them. Jillian really talked about it, but the word I also use is harmony, right? You have all of these things working in harmony. And Travis, you've talked about this too. When you watch a great theatrical or symphony, orchestra come together, each of them individually can play some beautiful music, but when these things are blended together, I mean, the sound and the aesthetic beauty of it is just off the charts. So harmony is a great word that I use also when I test and examine something like this in the lab.
Dr. Paul, you haven't been exposed to isogenics as long as maybe Jillian or myself. You came in through the research and really started to learn about the products, and then doing the research, you start to see, wow, these, scientifically these products are working, but why is your love for the products or your interest in the products growing so much?
Well, you know, when I look at my career, 30 years, I know it's hard to believe I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been very fortunate, very blessed to have worked with some top-tiered organizations, philanthropy organizations, NIH funding. And so over all those years, I've had to maintain my independence, my autonomy, my unbiased opinion on things. I'm a scientist, and so I have to remain open-minded to all of these things. And I'm on advisory boards for some of these other companies and organizations that I've worked with. And so the primary reason why I have such a belief in isogenics is obviously because of the independent research that I've done and the results that have been produced watching these study participants respond so phenomenally to the products. And so, you know, again, it's undeniable when you look at the data, and it doesn't mean that I'm biased. It just means that the data is what it is. And to me, it's convincing in that when individuals follow, and again, I've done other research for other nutritional supplement companies, other organizations, and I found favorable results. So I'm speaking specifically of the research that I've done with isogenics. The data is undeniable, and the results are not, you know, are unquestionable. It works. These people have changed their body composition. They have changed their heart health. They have changed the level of toxins that are circulating in the body. They have changed their physical performance as a result of following the isogenics weight loss and performance systems. And so, you know, it was enough for me, I'll have to admit, watching this and seeing it in a scientific study, for me to begin to, as you saw, and I apologize, I know it's probably so rude eating, but as you know, Travis, I've been on the go all day today, so I didn't have any time to eat a lunch or a dinner, so this is it, people, and that's the truth. So I'm a user because I've seen it scientifically, and the evidence is there. It's helped my health, my physical performance. As you mentioned, I'm a competitive athlete. I compete at the national level. And so for me personally, so not only has it been transformative in terms of, you know, the scientific breakthroughs that I've discovered, but it's been just as effective and equally valuable to me on a personal level, very transformative. So.
Well, you know, and Dr. Paul, we've had the pleasure of working with you closely now for a few years now. We're starting to get into this phase where you're getting familiar with the culture, you're getting familiar with isogenics, and I like to tell, you know, our listeners and those who are guests watching this for the first time, as a company, we want to be. I guess there's an analogy. I always tell people from a science standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, from a product development standpoint, we always want to be looking through the front windshield of a car. We want to be looking out in front of us to say, what's happening in the future? How can we help people? How can we help people with their journey of weight loss, lean muscle mass gain, from the scientific studies, producing the best nutrition out there? That is really, really, really important for us. And we're always trying to align ourselves with the right people at the corporate office. And that's why we've had such success at Isogenics, is because people are using the products and then taking it to another level with their family and friends. And Dr. Paul, someone who has been on the scientific side and now being looking at Isogenics for some time, I think people need to know that you're going to be spending a little bit more time with Isogenics. Tell us a little bit about, tell the audience a little bit about what you're going to be doing at Isogenics.
Oh, wow, this is so official. Well, I'm very honored, I'll say, and very humbled, actually, more so, to state publicly to everybody on the call that I've entered into a partnership with Isogenics to serve as a senior consultant. So I'll be hopefully doing more of this. I spent the day doing some similar activity, which I thrive on. I mean, this is what I live for, having an opportunity to be able to share strategies for people to improve their health and their physical performance. I mean, why wouldn't I be excited about that? And as some of you may or may not know, I've also been invited to be a member of the scientific advisory board. So the consultant work and then the advisory board, I'm just thrilled and beyond excited to be able to bring this to more people and grow what all of you are already doing at such a powerful level to so many more people. I mean, the goal is obvious. Isagenix has committed to bringing health across the world. And so I want to play a major part in that and do my role as much as possible, along with all of your help that you've all been doing so well for so many years. So, yeah, let's keep it going.
Well, you know, Dr. Paul, we really believe that we have solutions to transform lives at Isagenix. We know that a lot of people in the world today are saying, hey, we're losing the battle. People around the world are gaining more weight than ever before. Obesity is an epidemic. 2.1 billion people around the world are overweight or obese. We're losing the battle. How can we change this? And you know what? We believe a little bit differently. We know that we can make an impact. And with your help, with your research, with your continued product education, along with Jillian and many others at Isagenix, we know that we can make a difference. And when it hits you personally, for me and my family, my mother and father have experienced these products now for, 3.5 years. They were skeptical. They were nervous about taking on the products. And when they put them in their bodies transformed. And the health benefits have been just astronomical for me as a son to say, you know what, I have healthier parents. And, they're living a lifestyle that I just, I wish they always had. And now using the Isagenix product has made such a difference. So I just want to say thank you and welcome to the team. We're finishing this call out. Dr. Paul, I just want to ask you one last question. What would you like to share to this audience? And we have right at over 1,000 people who are watching and listening today. What would you like to finish this call with tonight?
Well, first of all, thank you all for joining on the call. I mean, I know time is it? It's 10:30 at night for me, and it's 7:30 for all of you, which is, family time. So first and foremost, I'm grateful that you've all taken the time to be on the call. And Jillian, thanks for joining on as well. And Travis, thanks for inviting me. As I look back at the short time, as you mentioned, with Isagenix, it has been, for me, personally and professionally, one of the most respectful, enlightening, and meaningful experiences that I've ever had in my career. Having the opportunity and being given the opportunity to have a platform to enlighten people and to bring this message to so many more people. Travis, words cannot begin to describe. I talk about these meaningful experiences of enormous bliss and awe. And I know that sounds kind of high level, and it should be, because that's how I feel. I feel so moved when I have an opportunity to share this research, to share the same message that all of you are already doing at some level, inspires me beyond words. And so I'm just so grateful. I'm excited for the future. I place such a high level of value on this opportunity. I never take it for granted when I'm given this type of an opportunity. So I'm excited to bring science to the world and have Isagenix as the platform. There it is.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to have Jillian finish out with some closing comments. But before you leave on this Zoom call, I have a special announcement at the end of Jillian's remarks here. So hang tight, because we're going to share some special information. And if you're a guest, you want to stay on board, or if you have a guest on here, or you want to take advantage of introducing someone new to Isagenix, hang tight. So Jillian, as a dietitian, we've shared a lot of information. What kind of closing remarks do you have?
Well, I don't think it's going to be any surprise that I'm going to say go to isagenixhealth.net, you guys. That is such a great resource. So I've got to do one last plug for that. Also, I think, I really want to encourage people to come to Celebration. It's coming up really soon. Dr. Paul's going to be on stage, and we have our science talk. So if you're coming to Celebration or you're new and you just want to jump into Isagenix and learn all about it, this is the place to be. We're going to be in Vegas, and our science talk is a full day of science. So I know all you guys are just going to be geeking out going to science talk. So make sure you check that out. isagenixevents.com is all the information about our event. And finally, I just want to do a quick shout out to our executive leadership team, because as you guys know, it takes a lot of money and time, and we could invest money in other places, but we invest it in research, and it's not just helping our business grow, it's also helping the scientific community learn more about how to improve the health of so many people out there. So I'm behind the scenes, and I can tell you guys it's just as good as it looks from the outside. We have a fantastic team. They really do care about helping people get healthier and helping the world become a better place.
Okay, so I just want to say again, thank you to Dr. Paul Asiero for being on the call. Thank you very much. Jillian, thank you for your insight, your information. I just want to say just a couple of housekeeping items. I want to remind everybody we are going to be investing a lot of time into product education. Dr. Paul, Jillian, and many others who are going to be involved with these type of Zoom calls and how we move forward and how we educate. So many of your comments, we're going to look at these as we look at the recordings to see what's important to you. What do you want to learn about? How do we help you in helping educate others around the world what Isagenix products and our systems can do? So we look forward to hearing from you. Jillian, I know that you're going to just get a lot of information on your Facebook page. So we look forward to receiving more and more and more on how we can help you. So we look forward to hearing some of your topics and what we can cover, because we're planning to have more of these types of Zoom calls and education at our events. Now, I want to finish out with this. If you're new to Isagenix or you're looking to share with this with somebody, tonight's your night. We have the opportunity to share that anybody who joins tonight, and I'm going to make sure that I say this correctly, so Jillian, correct me if I miss
the slide too, so everyone can see it.
Okay, so right now, free shipping. So anybody who joins tonight with 150 or more, we're going to give you free shipping on orders of 150 BV or more. This is for new members only. The code that you put in at the end of your enrollment form or the enrollment process online is CLANS14. So free shipping for new members who join with 150 BV or more, and the word that you'll put at the end is CLANS14. Now, in addition, in celebration of Dr. Paul really partnering with Isagenix even more and depending on the products, we're going to give you a free enrollment as well. And that free enrollment is going to be on 150 BV or more for new members only. And the code that you're going to, or the word that you're going to use is Journey. Again, free membership, the code is CLANS14. And for free enrollment, this is crazy. So this expires. Now, I just want to remind everybody, these codes will expire by June 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern. We are not going to have any more codes go out. By 3 p.m. Eastern, these codes will expire. If you're looking for free membership, you're looking for free shipping, it has to be 150 BV or more, and you'll receive free shipping. Again, the code for free shipping, CLANS14, and for free enrollments, it's Journey. That's the words that you're going to use. We can't thank you enough for being on the Zoom call. Dr. Paul, thank you again for joining on the Zoom call. We know it's late on the East Coast. Thank you very much.
All worth it. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
And Jillian, I won't call you doctor, but Jillian, thank you.
Take it. Give me doctor.
Jillian, thank you again for being on the Zoom call. We are going to have this recorded. We're going to be posting this, I believe, on isagenixhealth.net.
Yes, isagenixhealth.net.
isagenixhealth.net. So thank you again, everyone. Have a great night, and we welcome you to Isagenix.
Welcome. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.